Chairman, I agree with you. It's important and timely to hold this hearing today. Just like last week's hearing, it comes at a critical moment. For the last 9 months, President Biden has been pushing an agenda that would dramatically increase our nation's demand for minerals. President Biden has pledged to end new sales of cars and pickup trucks that run on gas or diesel. The President instead wants Americans to drive electric vehicles. Earlier this year, Mark Mills testified before this committee that, quote, providing the refined minerals needed to fabricate a single electric vehicle battery requires the mining, moving, and processing, he said, of more than 500,000 pounds of materials. He went on to say that's 20 times more than the 2,500 pounds of petroleum that an internal combustion engine uses over the life of the car. This chart from the International Energy Agency makes a similar point. It talks about electric vehicle and how much minerals are needed all the way across. And for the color coding, the blue is copper, you got nickel, manganese, and graphite. The conventional car is just copper and nickel. And that shows the difference in terms of the minerals that are necessary for an electric vehicle and a conventional vehicle. So at the same time President Biden wants to shut down America's natural gas and coal-fired power plants, he wants to do more along this line. The President instead doesn't want coal, doesn't want natural gas. He wants utilities to generate electricity from wind turbines and solar panels. Mark Mills again went on before this very committee and explained, compared with a natural gas power plant, both wind turbines and solar panels require at least 10 times as many total tons of mined, moved, and converted into machines to deliver the same quantity of energy. Again, this is a chart not by me, but by the International Energy Agency, and it makes the similar point. At the top, offshore wind, onshore wind, solar power vehicle, nuclear, coal, and natural gas. And the color coding is how much is copper, how much is zinc, how much is silicon, chromium, all of which shows much fewer need for these minerals in natural gas and coal than we would have in either offshore or inshore, onshore wind, or any of these other sources of power. In light of these goals, you would think that then President Biden and Democrats in Congress would want to make it easier for us to mine here in the United States for these minerals that are necessary to do the sorts of things that the Biden administration's agenda is calling for. But instead, this President and the House Democrats want to make it more difficult to get to these minerals that we need. And they seek to eliminate all mining on federal lands. Well, as the chairman said a little earlier, so many of these minerals, where are they found? On federal lands. Last month, House Democrats advanced partisan budget legislation, their reckless tax and spending spree. That bill would impose punishing royalties on existing and new mines on federal land. House Democrats also plan to raise fees and impose a tax on mining firms. The fees, of course, would be based, they say, on the amount of dirt that they moved. You can't make this stuff up. House Democrats are planning to tax the dirt. House Democrats also want to repeal the late Senator McCain's bipartisan legislation to provide access to one of the largest copper deposits in North America. This project would alone create 3,700 jobs in Arizona. Their proposal is going to devastate communities and workers in Wyoming, Nevada, Arizona, and throughout the West. The House Democrats' legislation will also be a giant gift for our adversaries overseas, like China and Russia. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the United States is already very heavily dependent on China and Russia for dozens of minerals. Many of these minerals are essential to our national defense and our economic security. The last thing that President Biden and House Democrats should be doing is increasing our dependence on China and Russia, but that's exactly what they are doing. So I am open to consider changes to the mining law of 1872. Still, we must protect American workers, mining communities in the West, and our nation's competitiveness. We also need to recognize that the mining law of 1872 covers dozens of different minerals. They each have their own market. which may be dominated by state-controlled corporations and companies and countries that are seeking to undercut U.S. mining firms. And for that reason, a one-size-fits-all approach is not going to work for me. We also must not limit our vision to the 1872 Mining Act. For example, Congress needs to enact meaningful permitting reform with fixed deadlines for federal agency action. Finally, I can only support changes if Congress proceeds through regular order and therefore on a broad bipartisan basis. These changes are too consequential for Congress to pursue them through the partisan budget process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.